I've deliberately tried to make today's service in some ways as unlike church as possible. Because as we gather virtually here, this is something that the church has really never done before. It's not to say that there isn't value in doing this. I hope there is. That's why we're doing it. But that this is something new, in the same way that at some point, even monasticism was new, something that people in the church hadn't really done before exactly, at least not in the way that the monks did it. I think it's important for us as we do this to keep in mind the strengths and the limitations of the technology that is allowing us to do this. We're blessed with technology that allows us to gather virtually together and to kind of sort of be in one another's presence, but it is not the same as the ecclesia, the gathering together of us as the people of God physically in one place. And it's important to keep in mind the differences. There are similarities. We can see one another to some extent. We can hear one another to some extent. But there is a lack of risk in this gathering together that is an essential component of being ecclesia, being called out from where we have been into one another's presence. Here, if you want to tune out, you just click off. If you want to tune out, you actually have to get up and go home because you took the trouble to get up and come to the gathering of the people of God. Here, there's some, we'll explore the breakout rooms. There's some opportunity possibly for private conversation where you meet with the people that you choose to meet afterwards, but it's generally speaking a large gathering where you don't have those options. So just some of the things that are different about this. But mostly I want to emphasize the risk, because that's why we're not meeting, the risk. There is a risk of infection, and we as good citizens of the country that we live in are doing our best to accommodate what our medical professionals and the government is asking us to do. St. Justin the Martyr and Philosopher, my patron saint, said to the emperor in his first apology that we are your best citizens. We seek wherever we can to obey, to do what is good and helpful for society. We pray for you. We pray for all of the world, which we'll do after this meditation. And that's part of what it means for us to be followers of Jesus Christ. But another part of what it means for us to be followers of Jesus Christ is to actually take the risk of coming together. And we do that every Sunday in the liturgy. We go further with that risk. We take the risk of eating together. And that is something that is both a joy and a sacred obligation, and a risk, because you're uniting yourself in the food, in partaking of food together with other people who are messed up, just like we're messed up. And but they're messed up in different ways, so their messed upness might impinge on ours and make us more messed up. That's why the other essential element of our coming together is forgiveness. As we come together, forgive one another. As we come together, we give one another the opportunity to help us or harm us, because it is that coming together, that being one, being in one another's presence, that is the ultimate fullness of the realization of church. And so one of the reasons I have chosen to make this as not like church as possible, we're outside, or I'm outside, and we're not doing the liturgical prayers, we're doing the prayers to be said when one cannot attend Sunday liturgy, um, is to remind us of this great tragedy that we are currently experiencing. Not to hide from this tragedy, but to foreground the tragedy, to say, this is tragic that we cannot meet together. This is abnormal. This is not what we usually do. We do what we can with what we have. That's always been the case, even when we celebrated liturgy in the prison camps. But it's important for us to keep in mind that while we can pray together, while we can learn together, and these are valuable and good things, there is something missing. I wanted to end with the cross, because today is a celebration of the cross, the veneration of the cross. Christ, when he came, experienced the ultimate in isolation. And he experienced that ultimately on the cross. His cry from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from the words of my groaning? He didn't get that second part of the psalm, but it's implied because that was his experience. He experienced isolation from his followers, from the people who had followed him around for at least 3 years. He experienced isolation from the rest of the world. He was mocked and spat upon. He was misjudged. He was mistreated. He experienced isolation from God himself. And we don't know the full extent of that mystery, but it's expressed there in those words. And he did that for us and our salvation. We're experiencing some very much smaller experience of isolation. And we're doing it in some respects for the same reason, out of love for one another, out of love for God, wanting to help and to save as many as we can by, in this case, our absence, by our isolation. We are called to do this by the bishops. We're called to do this by Christ for as long as we need to. But by God's grace, by God's mercy, we will come together again. We will celebrate the liturgy together again. We will take that risk because that is who we are as followers of Jesus Christ. That is what it means to be one as he and the Father are one. And this is the essence of liturgy.